Okay, we'll call the Public Works and Planning Committee to order, and I'm going to ask Mr. Trey Gooch to say a prayer tonight.
Let's go to our Father in prayer. Oh, Father, we love you. We praise your name. We know that all good comes from you. Father, we're so thankful for this day and this opportunity that we have to serve you and our constituents, and we ask that the things that we say and do may be in accordance with your will and the people that we serve. We thank you so much for our county employees and what they do for us. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, first item be to approve minutes for the last meeting.
Move to approve is mailed out.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the first item up is landfill.
Good evening, gentlemen. Landfill's still running a little busier than normal. Had a little bit of the flood activity come in. A lot of that went next door to Middle Point. And we are open on the first and third Saturdays of the month. Any questions on the landfill report?
You said that with excitement. We're open the first and third.
Yes,
I appreciate your excitement.
All right, you want to go to convenience center?
Convenience centers. The County Highway Department has worked with us really well last month. I guess it's all last month, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
we paved 2 convenience centers. We paved the Rock Crusher. We also paved the Rock Springs Convenience Center. Both of them look a lot better. And we're have it set in our budget for next year to start a paint process to where we can start painting our containers to make those look better as well. Convenience centers have been extremely active. We opened up a temporary flood site in Laverne, up there at Laverne, Smyrna city limits, to help some of those residents with flood issues. Plus, we had extra activity in every convenience center. So we've been busy for the last month. Any questions on that?
Is that working out pretty good on the flood
The flood center?
Yeah.
The flood center we actually closed last week. The activity there had slowed down. We also contracted and did some curbside collection, which we didn't do near as much of that as I thought we were going to have. That's what this budget amendment is about. But we're finished that process as well.
Mm-hmm.
Back to you to get a lot of debris that shouldn't be there on the side or anything?
Not really. Our residents was pretty good. The thing that helped us the most was that we had a list of residents affected, the ones that had called FEMA and the Rutherford County Emergency Management. At the time we started, I think there was 288 homes, and Kathy called each one that had a phone number to see if, hey, Mr. Sparks, sorry you had a problem, do you need our assistance? By the time we started doing that collection, most of the people had already finished. So we didn't have near what we thought we was going to have.
Anybody got any questions on the reports?
You know, we tweaked the lane, the amount of volume. I know it's been a concern up here. What's, I shouldn't say your plan, but what else can we do to get this volume down?
Curbside collection. That's really the honest answer. The volume's a little bit higher than what would normally be. You can see that a little over 6,000 yards last month. Part of that was flood yards. A lot of people were taking things to the convenience centers. Every convenience center is up a little bit.
Mac, you were talking about me and you talked a little bit on what community did you see that had curbside pickup that kind of bid the district in a sense and made it more economical for the homeowners? Was it Tullahoma or Columbia?
City of Spring Hill, City of Winchester, even small cities such as Chapel Hill, Cornersville, Linville, and another, I can't think of the name of it. But they all bid out service and had it privatized.
Okay.
It was pretty inexpensive for them.
Well, they're not, the towns or the county's not collecting the fees and then reimbursing the private haulers or anything. The private haulers do it all.
The way that worked is the city, the entity would get the bill for the service, and they would pay the hauler, and then the residents would either pay on their water bill, electric bill,
Yes.
sewer bill, one of those bills that the
Okay.
city provided.
Okay. How do you get, when you look at a community and you see a community maybe that one entity doesn't want to pick up the responsibility, you know, it's an election season, that sort of thing, people don't want to talk about it. What else could be done to kind of motivate people in a sense? I mean, what happened in that community to win them over, I guess?
Those communities have been doing that for quite some time. Some of the smaller cities in this state have been doing trash service for a long time. Murfreesboro started out as a whole lot smaller than what it is now, and Rutherford County at that time, population-wise, was a lot smaller.
Yeah.
What we've got to focus on is the things that we have always done. And you know, some of the answers is it's always been that way. Well, just because it was that way then doesn't necessarily work now.
Yeah.
And those are some of the issues that we're going to have to look at and struggle through. You know, a lot of the comment from the north end of the county from the two mayors was our residents pay property taxes, and they absolutely do. But property taxes do not fund any of these budgets you're looking at.
Well, if there's people at home that's listening to this, and they live maybe in Laverne, Smyrna, Eagleville, or wherever, why should they be concerned? I mean, can you get that message out to them?
Well, some of the people, a lot of the people in those cities actually have private haulers. And some of the rates have actually decreased because of the economy. But if it was to be bid out to where one company had the whole thing, that price should be less.
Yes, sir.
The other thing that we need to look at is I'm a strong believer that if they do curbside service for trash, they also need to do it for recycling. I sat with the long-range planning people this morning and talking about the long-range plans for Rutherford County, the 25-year plan. The time that 25-year plan takes place, Middle Point's going to be closed.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to be trucking trash somewhere besides here, because I really doubt that the citizens are going to want another landfill in this county.
Yeah.
So our price is going to go way, way up. And we need to start looking now. We can't wait till the day before to make those decisions.
Well, it just seems like, you know, you got these issues that are so important, but no one really talks about it. I mean, the media, they don't even, this is such an important issue, and the media doesn't even talk about it, you know, because look at the cost that it's going to affect my kids when they get older. I mean, if you don't have a landfill, and then the cost of diesel fuel most likely is going to rise, especially
Right.
20 years from now. I mean, how serious is this issue?
This is a real serious issue. We're talking about the garbage that we produce, and think about what comes out of your home, and think about what you could be recycling. Most people don't recycle, and the ones that do probably don't recycle it as efficiently as they could. But the amount of trash that we are generating is going, everything in this community that we pick up, the city of Murfreesboro picks up and Rutherford County picks up, goes to Middle Point. Some of the private haulers that pick up don't go to Middle Point. Some of our trash actually goes to Camden, Tennessee, or to Lewisburg, Tennessee, to be disposed of. A lot of people don't realize that. You know, so not everything that we generate goes here. Now we do have, you know, other counties surrounding that does come to Middle Point, and that's part of their business, and that's part of their business model, the way they're structured. But if we don't start looking at some things real seriously, and be willing to make some changes, and be willing to upset some people, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take somebody having to make that call, and it's going to be you gentlemen. I mean, y'all are going to have to make that call.
And you're not saying mandatory recycling, you're saying encouraging recycling.
Right.
With the private haulers who, and some of them may be real motivated to do it because whether it's steel or aluminum, you know, because it's a commodity.
Right.
They're making something off
Well,
of it.
paper products are a good commodity. We've been hauling our own recycle stuff, and we've generated quite a bit of money in the last couple of weeks just hauling our own recycled materials. We were getting close to $80 a ton for cardboard and newspapers. We, in the last 2 weeks, dumped almost 100 tons of paper products through what my department has collected. And, you know, think about what's out there versus what we collected. We haven't collected a lot of it. The recycle program that we're planning on starting in the school system in the fall, that should help quite a bit. It's going to take the type things that are different, that is going to take a little getting accustomed to. I used the analogy before. Most of us growing up didn't wear a seatbelt. It's the law now. Some of us probably still don't wear one. But it's something that we had to get used to. And recycling and trying to do something different with the trash is similar. We're going to have to get used to it.
Yes, thanks.
Let's go back to the report here. Anybody got any questions on
Motion to
this?
approve report. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you got a budget.
Yes, sir.
Request.
The budget request here is to take some money out of fund balance and to put into contract with private agencies and contract with government agencies. This budget amendment mainly is to take care of the flood situation that we've had, to pay for the disposal of the temporary convenience center, plus to pay for the contractors that we use to do the curbside collection of it.
Yeah, I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, call a roll.
Commissioner Daniel?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
And that's all I have.
All righty. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next be planning.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. Got the subdivision lot inventory report in January 2004 to present. What you're looking at from the last month, not a whole lot of change from the month before. Nothing new was recorded, major plat-wise, that's reflected on this list. This list does reflect the issuance of 17 new building permits. On page 3, you'll see the total number of recorded lots and permits issued. We still have total lots available right now of 1,519. With compared that to May of last year, it is down. We've been kind of hovering right about 100, 150, somewhere around in there, less from a year ago. But that just gives you an update of the activity that we've seen, again, from January 2004 to the present. Just have 3 items today, if there's no questions on that, regarding our public hearings coming up for June 17th. One conditional use permit request, a rezoning and conditional use permit, and then a zoning resolution amendment. The conditional use permit request is for a piece of property located along Shelbyville Highway. It's about a little over 3 acres. The applicant's proposing to build a little over 1,100 square foot building on the site. This property was actually rezoned transportation back in 1999. They were approved for 15 mini storage buildings, also in August of 2000, but none was ever constructed. What they're wanting to do now is put a new building on the property and use it to store industrial equipment such as forklifts, backhoes, trailers, those kind of things. They would also like to park their delivery trucks on site. The building would not contain any kind of an office or bathroom. It really is just for a storage area. The biggest concern that the Planning Commission had on this particular item was the number of the pieces of equipment that were going to be stored on site. There was some concern that they were going to store maybe some of the broken down equipment or anything like that, which was not the case. But they did put a couple conditions on here that all the equipment stored had to be operational and that no more than 50 pieces of equipment could be stored on the site at any one time. And the applicant was comfortable with those conditions, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of that by a vote, unanimous vote, 10 for and 0 against. Excuse me. The second item is a piece of property down it's at the corner of Capitol Way and Epps Mill Road, right off the Buchanan interchange. This is a piece of property. It's actually zoned currently, zoned commercial, and a very small sliver is zoned R15. Back in 1971. Is when the commercial zoning of this property was done, and in '85 there was an area that contained around it about 47 acres, which is there's 2 tracks here that they're looking at, but the one track is fully industrial. The other track is a split between the commercial and the residential. It's one of those rezonings where they did a measurement, say 500 feet and 1,000 feet long, and of course it just didn't match with the lot lines as they are today. But basically, the applicant's proposing to build a 24-hour travel plaza facility with convenience market and restaurants. It'd be a 12,000 square foot building with accompanying gas, diesel pumps on the property. It'd also be primarily a truck stop. They have a number of truck stop spaces in there as well. There's a reduced copy of the plan in your agenda materials. There's one kind of a farther out view than one a little closer. This is for conceptual purposes. There are issues with this as far as the amount of lot coverage. There was a lot of discussion about the possibility of a turn lane being added on Epps Mill Road. At this time, when the Planning Commission considered this, that wasn't added as a condition. However, this site is served by city sewer, and the applicant has met with the city officials, and more than likely they will require a turn lane off of Epps Mill. It does widen out right in that area. It might be just a matter of some additional striping through here. But there's some other issues with the entrances and everything. But again, this is conceptual, and we realize those issues exist, and would, if this is rezoned, would be dealt with at the site plan phase. The third item that we have is an ordinance amendment, and I don't know if your agenda kind of got a little backwards right through here, as mine did. We have proposing a resolution here, amendment regarding what we're calling borrow pits. Basically, what we are proposing is add a definition for borrow pit as an area which soil or other undisclosed material is removed from a piece of property to be used without further processing, either on-site or off-site, as fill activities such as landscaping, building construction, or highway construction and maintenance. Just kind of the history behind this particular item. Typically, temporary resource extractions are handled through the Board of Zoning Appeals, and these still would be as borrow pits. However, there was really no regulations on the book that dealt with them specifically. Everyone was kind of dealt with on its own as it came up. And so what we decided might be a better approach is actually having some specific conditions for all of them to have to meet. So, which is how we came up with this. This has been to the Planning Commission at a number of different meetings and also for public hearing. We've made several changes to it. The most significant change I think that we made deals with number 15 on the second page. The concern of the Planning Commission had to do with the use of it as agricultural fill. You know, if someone had a farm here and a farm down the road, transferring it from farm to farm, they'd have to get an extraction permit for that. Currently, they would have to, but what the Planning Commission wanted to see, was something in here that exempted that kind of activity. That if they were simply going from one farm they own to another farm they own, if it was just right down the road or something like that, that would be exempted from these provisions. And so number 15, we think, handles that. Again, this was recommended approval by the Planning Commission. Those are the rezoning items I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So you're saying they would be permitted to move from one piece of land to another?
If there's
Under
farmland.
It's not a farm for agricultural, just for strict agricultural purposes. Yes, sir.
Well, I could see where a guy would have two farms and he's going to sell one off, so he's improving the one. He'd have an advantage and sort of be skirting an issue or ordinance by being allowed to do that, where someone else couldn't come in and improve property by bringing fill from another area.
Well, I think the example that that the Planning Commission was bringing up a lot of the time had to do with if they're digging a pond on their property and say they just wanted to move the dirt to another piece of property they own, another agricultural farm. They were wanting to exempt that kind of activity. And
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and that's really what the intent of this is. Of course, anybody who comes into our office and starts asking about this, we'll try to get to the bottom of what it is that they're really trying to accomplish. And Mr. Corbett and myself, will be able to use a certain amount of discretion in that determination.
Okay.
Any other questions?
On the first one, you'll be storing, you say, backhoes and heavy
Forklifts, trailer,
equipment.
basically.
Is anything going to be done as far as restricting runoff or catching?
Well, they'll have to do
where they drip, because I've never seen a piece of equipment like that didn't leak.
I mean,
are they going to be parked on concrete or just out in a gravel
well, they
lot?
actually received a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals in April to allow to keep it as a gravel area. As far as any runoff from the site, drainage runoff or anything like that, they still have to submit a site plan for us to review. And, I think we could probably ask for reasonable measures to be put in place to catch any kind of, like you said, oil dripping. This is going to be, it's not going to be used or it's not going to be broken down equipment. This will be usable equipment that is stored on the property. So the chances of that are probably less than if it were broken down, I would think.
Well, like I said, I've never seen a piece that didn't leak.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something we can ask them on a site plan to reasonably provide accommodations for that kind of possibility.
They also have to have the buffers
Yes,
in as well in that.
that's
So
right. Yeah, and this
screening,
would,
I guess, would be a
that's correct. This would fall under the site plan would fall under our new landscaping regulations.
new landscaping on that. I think that was some concerns I heard.
Mhm.
And on the truck stop, you say the turn lane would be addressed later?
At this time, it's not actually one of the conditions. It was brought up as far as the road improvements to Epps Mill Road. Now, what I did tell the Planning Commission was we've submitted that request, that project to the state for possible inclusion in the next long-range transportation plan. Now, we're going through the process now of rating projects and everything, so I don't know where this is going to fall in all that. Mm-hmm. But there is a wider area through there that probably could accommodate a turn lane now if it was striped properly. But talking with the city about this, since it's on the sewer, they're going to have to approve the site plan, and they've already informed the applicant that they're going to want to see more than likely a turn lane, also a left turn lane off of Capitol Way going back onto Epps Mill Road. For any,
What would be wrong with us putting a turn lane in now then?
yeah, and that would certainly be. It wasn't something the Planning Commission did, but
I mean, that's my area. I was going, I'm glad Mr. Johnson brought it up, but that's what I was going to ask somebody on here to put it in there.
I mean, at the county commission meeting, that would be a condition that, it has been placed before.
So I guess what you're saying is Joe Frank could do it at the county commission meeting because it's his district.
That's correct.
Well,
When he
I
makes
just
the
sent for the
motion.
public works, send it on, who would already have it on there. Somebody add it in here.
Didn't you say we really couldn't?
Well,
this is sort of just for our information right now. Isn't it?
I think you've made it, clear that that's something you're going to want to see, and we can let the applicant know between now and then. But I think they're already knowing that this is coming, because again, the city I think is going to require it regardless. So, at least the way it looks now.
So I tried that before. That's the only reason I did it. I was told you can't do it now. So.
Well, how did they miss it in planning?
I'm sorry.
How did they miss this in planning?
Well, it wasn't that they didn't. I don't think they missed it. There was discussion about it. They just chose at this time not to make it a condition. I think a lot of the reason was because, if I remember right, someone from the city spoke and had said that this is something that they were going to review as well because the city sewer are being provided to the site. So I think the Planning Commission was comfortable with that. It wasn't a situation where they missed it. There was quite a bit of discussion on it.
Well, they could have put it in.
They could have, but they chose not to.
But then again, the city could, by some freak thing happening, they could decide that
It's not warranted.
they don't want to, and
They
then
could.
then we wouldn't have it.
That's correct.
So, going back to what I said in previous meetings, we need to take care of our own and put it in there.
I put one in when the last time they had around there on Miller at that barrel, and I won't be further tall unless it.
Yeah, and I'll like I said, I'll contact the applicant between now and next Thursday and just let him know that, that's probably coming, but I think he's expecting that anyway, so I don't think this will be a big surprise to him. So,
Any other question on the report?
And back to the first one, to the storage. That's on Shelbyville Highway,
yes, sir.
231?
That's correct.
I'm assuming that's on a straightaway.
It is. I don't know if you've got your map, but this is it's located right here. They wouldn't have any access on Midland Fosterville. Their access would be directly off of Shelbyville Pike.
Is that right there where the Hearst was?
The
That
one
went out of business.
The which one?
Is that where Hearst went out of business right there?
I don't think anything's really ever been constructed here yet.
Okay.
But this gentleman
You
brought
said
that
Midland
brought that a couple
Falls.
times for different things through the years, but nothing's been put in there.
Yeah, there are several private parcels in the immediate vicinity that,
Let me see.
yeah. But there are other zone, it's just the very next page here. And that's an area that might help you even more than the zoning map would.
Midland Road,
That's a little further
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
it's on the right. Then join Midland Road. It's a property.
That's up there close to where they got them stores built.
Mhm.
Thanks. I want to make a motion to approve the report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
If I may, my budget amendment.
All right.
We are presenting a budget amendment here for you tonight. Again, we're not asking for any new money. We're just wanting to shift around a little bit of money that we currently have in our budget that's not utilized. We'd like to be able to purchase some traffic counters in order to help us monitor traffic volumes. We can use, and there's on the second page, and I think some people are looking at it already. What this package includes is 4 of these what they're called classifiers, traffic counters, the software to run them, and a cable to connect the computer to the unit itself. Basically, these units, they sit on the side of the road, you chain them down to something, and you probably have seen them on the road. They've got the rubber tubes that go across the road, and you run over them. And these will keep count of the number. There's also classification abilities with these. We can tell what kind of traffic it is. We can do it by hour, by 50-minute intervals, however we want to set it up. This will help us in several aspects for identifying traffic on roads to help us with future road improvements, identifying which of those roads have the greater need for traffic. The county's in the process of considering beginning a bicycle and pedestrian plan. Part of that plan would be to try to get an idea of the traffic volumes around the county. We have a lot of state counts that were done when the Nashville area MPO did their regional bike and pedestrian study. So we'd be able to piggyback on a lot of their methodology, but they did most of the state roads. We still have quite a few local roads we would want to do. And also just in our just day-to-day activities as far as rezoning applications and whatnot, this would be very beneficial for us to have these. Basically what we're asking is just to move a little bit of money from a funded but unused secretary position from that over to other supplies and materials. We're not going to need the entire $4,300. As you can see, the package itself is just a little under $2,900. This is on the state bid list, so we don't have to bid this out. Also, some of the extra funds, again, we won't need it all, but that'll help us buy the road tubing and the nails and equipment that we need to go along with the counters. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I make a motion to approve. This is
Second.
something we really do need.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think so too.
And this is a great deal. These units usually by themselves are about $1,000. We get 4 of them, and the software is a really good deal.
Call the roll on.
Commissioner Daniel,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner McAdoo,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan.
Yes.
If I could just make one quick announcement, we're going to be having a steering committee for the comprehensive plan meeting coming up on June 21st at 6 p.m. That'll be in the County Board of Education building over there off of South Park. This will be the first time that we've used their facility. It's already set up very nicely for what we're needing. The cameras are already there and everything. They'll be looking at the alternative growth scenarios, fiscal analysis, and more than likely choosing an alternative scenario for us to go forward with. So we're real excited about that. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, and we hope to see you at the meeting.
6:20,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yes, on the 21st.
And 21st.
Yeah, you want to talk about stormwater?
I'm done.
Yeah, in front of you, you'll find a copy of the stormwater ordinance. The state has asked us, this ordinance is based on a model the state gave us, and we've made some changes in the past, and they've now asked us to make some more changes to the language. There's some additional stuff coming out in August. I wanted to wait till then, but they've asked that we go ahead with these changes we have here, and I'll go through those at this time, because this ordinance, of course, goes through you guys and through the through the county commission, and the planning commission has been aware of this and been through the stormwater committee. The what we try to do is highlight on page 12. They wanted more specific information on when our land disturbance permits were required, so we've added in A under 1 there. Then also under exemptions, they wanted what we were exempting existing agricultural operations and any logging activity. Those are basically come under the agricultural definition. We were also exempting emergency activity, which would be similar to the flooding problems we had for people, but they wanted that activity more specified in this ordinance, and so that's in here. The next change is on page 25. Currently, our regulations require a 25-foot buffer from top of bank. This moves it to 50 feet. There's a draft in the state legislature now to increase that to 60 feet, to be a 60-feet buffer from top of bank for any construction. This is an attempt to minimize silt getting into our streams, which is the main pollutant we have at this point in time. So currently under any construction permit you get from the state, they require a temporary 60-foot buffer. And so anyway, they wanted us to increase ours. When they did our review back in the spring, they wanted our 25 feet to increase to 50 feet.
I think that's a good idea myself.
On page 27, under number 6, this requirement here is one that's going to create quite a bit of additional work. What they're requiring is that when we do a development, and this will be projects including 1 acre or more of land, and or the construction of 15,000 square feet or more of impervious surface within a 2-year period, and that this keeps somebody from doing a phase deal where they come in and do half of it, one and half of it, but when they get that 15 feet. Then they have to design to remove 80% of the annual load of total suspended solids for 1.2 inches of rainfall. Basically what this means is they have to design their detention area for 1.2 inches to hold that rain in there for a period of 48 hours. And then basically you'll do that with either a V-notch weir or a smaller pipe at the bottom, whatever. What this allows is the silt to settle out before the water then leaves the facility. So what will end up is the detention areas will be undercut, so that you got an area in there where the water will sit in it longer, and as it builds up. Now, once you get above 1-2 inches, you retain it. It'll go out the regular rate that we're doing it currently. So we're going to have some facilities that will have water in them a little longer than they do now. They're going to have water in them for 2 or 3 days, where now they may be dry in a day or so. That's the main difference. But again, the emphasis here is to try to get the silt out before it gets into the stream. One of the challenges we have in Rutherford County is we've got a lot of clay materials. Now, the clay probably won't settle out in two days, which we've talked to them about. But this is actually coming out of EPA. It's a federal requirement that's spread across the nation. Everybody has to try to comply with it. So, and as a pilot program, EPA selected Tennessee and West Virginia to do some of these things to see how they work. How do we get selected? I don't know, but that's what we're having to deal with right now. So these changes, the rest of it is basically the same as it was before. These changes need to be sent on to the county commission for their approval, so they become part of the stormwater management. But also some requirements, changes in our subdivision regulations, which we can hand through the planning commission.
It's on new site plans only.
So on new site plans or redevelopment site plans, which means if you're going to increase something or you can make a larger facility stuff, then we have to look at the size of it, how many square feet is involved, and that kind of stuff. So it could apply to them also.
Okay.
It wouldn't apply to like an individual home out there because it's not going to disturb 15,000 square feet. The whole lot's probably 15,000 square feet.
Yeah.
the change in detention areas is, if it ends up a good thing, then I'm glad we were chosen first, but who knows?
Well, it'll increase some maintenance problems because you're designing these things for the silt to settle out. Well, after a period of time, it's going to fill up your detention area. So we'll have to have, it may fall on our public works crew to go in and clean out these deals to get them back down to the original level so we have that same capacity within our structures.
But if you get so many of them, I don't know whether they'd be able to handle all of it.
That's what I mean. It's going to be a maintenance problem that we'll have to deal with. Under the new laws, the new subdivisions coming will have to have some type of maintenance agreement in there for perpetuity for somebody to maintain the stormwater facilities.
That's a good time.
So we've got to deal with that at that point, and hopefully this will take care of it. It most likely will be signed to the homeowner associations that are established when we do the subdivision. Now, one of the challenges we've got with the homeowner associations is, you know, the developer comes in and he creates the document and he records it and puts it in there, and he may or may not put it into effect after 50 or 60% of the houses are in there. The ones that they've tried to become effect, I've gotten called because in their, you know, it's written in now they've got to collect fees because they've got to maintain these facilities, and then you get the homeowners, you know, they don't want to pay the fees or they weren't told about the fees, whatever the case may be. That's the thing for the homeowner association, but we as the government entity will have to go in. We may have to go in similar to David's cutting grass facility where we go in and clean them out and then put a lien on the houses. So I see it as it's going to be a very complicated thing that we'll have to deal with, but my challenge is it's a federal kind of mandate that I have to put in here, and we'll have to do it.
Can you just turn that over to David?
I'm thinking about it.
But your detention area, square footage wise, is not increasing, you're redesigning it though, right?
Yeah, the actual, what we'll design, the footprint of the area will be the same, it'll just be a little deeper, maybe a foot or 2 feet deeper.
It's kind of like what, you know, you see some of that underground detention on some of your commercial site
Right.
plans. The same concept though.
Right.
Okay.
So, and then we're also, to go along with this, we've got some new water sampling procedures we're putting in place this summer, because we have to sample these streams for sediment. And we're also getting into E. coli and some of these other things. And as they become more polluted or more pollution shows up, then we have to come up with a plan to deal with that, to find out where it's coming from and figure out how we're going to deal with it. So the whole thing is becoming a little more complex, complicated as we get into it.
I just got one comment since you touched on it, and I won't get off into the deep water on this, but the homeowners associations and how they relate to the people and how it responds to the county, I believe really needs to be relooked at and reworked on stuff, because we've got a lot of problems along the lines that you're addressing. I think y'all would agree with that, and I don't know what we can do legally, but something really needs to be put in the planning that with the steering. I don't know if that can be incorporated in that. Mayor, you may can touch on that, not for this meeting here, but I've looked at 4 or 5 or 6 of these things that have had some problems with them, and as a county, we're just dead in the water. Nothing we can do the way the current regulations are. Is that the way? I mean, that's the way that I interpret everything in the information I've been gotten, and we've got homeowners that are, as you were saying, not getting the information, and they're all of a sudden hit with, what do we do? So I would hope that in the next few months we would really address that to whatever legal hole that we can about being able to put some monies back in to do that. But I won't get off on the details of that.
Any other questions on it? No, I'll take a motion to approve the stormwater report there.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got a question. I read in the paper in Tennessee that it's due to the flood, Davidson County was asking the planning commission to redo or relook at the 100-year flood plain maps. Are we relooking at those in the northern end of the county?
Well, let me ask, because I got some emails on this. The maps are done by FEMA. They have a contractor come in and do it. The Corps of Engineers will study those. We've got an email from the Corps asking if there's any streams we want to restudy. So we're going to give them 2 or 3 streams, and that's basically all we can do at this point in time is ask them to restudy the streams, and then if they may or may not reissue the maps. And I'll give you an example. Overall Creek, if you look at the floodplain maps, a lot of those lots there were supposed to have flooded because we have more than what's recorded. But they built that new bridge, and by doing that, it allowed all that water to get through. And so a lot of those lots that show up on the floodplain map is completely in the floodplain, got very little water on. So we will ask them to look at that, to reevaluate those, and maybe bring some of that back. But when we look at the example of Shores Road was not caused by a stream or anything. Only those floodplains are only established on streams or rivers. They do not take into account the sinkholes. When we redid the maps, we redid them in '98. We also redid them 3 years ago. The FEMA contractor came in here 2 years before that. We met with them. Doug and I, Mayor met, the city met. It was a big group met with them. And we got them to use our current LiDAR data, which we had flown. They also used our tax records because now we have the lots and stuff on there, which we didn't have before, which makes it easier to identify. But even then I asked them to look at the sinkholes because at that time we were dealing with Greenwood and Twin Oaks and those houses that flooded due to sinkholes. And they said they couldn't do that. There's no way for them to model those sinkholes, no way to know what they're hooked to hydraulically to force water through them. And so as a result, they don't do that. And so what we try to do locally is in our map in the office, we just mark where the flooding was. People comes in, we make them aware, and David and I'll get together and we'll say, all right, the highest historical value we think is 702, so you got to build your house higher than that. Some people don't like it, to be truthful. We've had some people really complain that their house is too high. They have to use a ladder to get into it. But I also had a couple of people come up to me in Shores Road and thank us because we made it built so high that the water didn't get into their house. So, but as far as the maps, we will be giving information to the Corps and asking to restudy. And at this point, that's probably what we can do.
Dale, I'm sure you get a lot of calls since it's flooding. How are you prioritizing where to go look, different subdivisions? How are you having to prioritize with yourself like that?
We currently, in the office, we're taking all the calls everybody got. We still have to get with the mayor to get his data, but emergency management had over 330 homes that they have in their database. David and his guys have been put all that. We're going to put all that. We're going to take it and put it all on a layer, which will go on GIS. And then what we'll do is we'll look at the areas that have the most, if you will, complaints and try to prioritize it by, shall I say, volume. Then we'll look at those and try to come up with the simplest project we can. Again, we have a small crew. Some of the ones are going to be very large projects. Like if you wanted to, Shores Road is going to show up very large, but to solve that, looking at it just quickly, you'd have to either put a ditch or a pipe almost 20 feet in the ground and carry it almost a mile to get rid of that water. Well, to do that kind of construction where you got a lot of rock, it would be extremely expensive. And so we're trying to utilize the money as best we can. And that's not saying that the situation is not dire in those conditions. It's just trying to utilize the manpower we have and the budget we do. But we are creating a layer on our GS to identify all these places that people flooded. We also are taking, when you go to that spot, you can pull it up. You'll be able to show photos that we've either taken ourselves or people are giving us any historical information we can pull out of that one particular site.
Well, how much flooding did you see that was just from culverts being clogged? Maybe people putting limbs, and over the years, did you see much flooding from any of that?
We saw a lot of that. We've had people call us that we've had them go out and check on it. a lot of it has to do with the fact that the pipes that we designed were designed for a large, maybe a 7-inch rain, and we got a 13-inch or 15-inch rain. And so, as a result, then the water couldn't get through the pipe fast enough. Not because it was blocked, just because it wasn't large
It
enough.
wasn't big enough.
And so, I don't think we're going to change the designs. I mean, if we started to design for a 13-inch rain, you would have like humongous stuff out there.
And nobody would like that either until you got a big flood again.
Right. Now, we're taking those where we had to pull the trees out, the limbs out, they're blocking something. We're going to put those on our list too. And when we finish that, working with Eric Hill and the Public Works and also the Highway Department, there's some of the stuff the Highway Department maybe will do off the road, off the right of way, right in the right of way. And then the other stuff we'll try to do with our crew, and we're prioritizing. Currently, we're putting in a box culvert in Cairo Road. That particular flooding came up last year, and it happened again this year. Happened right before we let the contract on putting that culvert in. And there's some of the others that we're still working on from a couple of years ago. And then Mike Williams is working with us on that particular culvert. It's going to cost about $50,000 plus the labor and all that. So he's going to pull that out of his budget, and it's just a matter of getting the money to do some of these types of things.
Even if someone was to put in a 20-foot deep pipe, drainage pipe in Shores Road, that still doesn't guarantee that where you're putting the water or where you're taking the water to in a flood like we had, most likely where you're taking it to it's flooding too.
That's
so
correct.
you're still going to have water back up, and you've just wasted all that money. So
see, one of the problems you have in this area, all the stuff feeds into Percy Priest Lake. Well, when Percy Priest, it filled up to within 6 inches of the top of that dam. When it did, it backed up about 5 miles into our county, into our streams, and stopped things from getting out of here. So that was another problem we had, and we'll have to deal with that every time that lake fills up, no matter how much rain we get. So.
And your sinkholes pretty much go with the level of the lake, don't they?
A lot of them tend to go with level of the lake. We've got a lot up, up around Walter Hill and stuff, going level of the river there. When it comes up, the sinkholes will come out. Some of the sinkholes just don't go anywhere, but still, the ones that are connected to these other bodies, when they fill up, you're right, they don't take any water. In fact, they start giving you back water. I mean, went out Monday to check all the flooding in Shores Road, and went there where Burnt Rock comes in better, and there's a big lake there. I look over the other side, on the other side of the road ditch, there's about 5 buzzards down there, and they've got a carp out. That's probably a 30-pound carp. They just pull out of the ditch, and they're fixing to have lunch. So, I mean, it had to come from the river, right? I mean, so somewhere in there is connected to.
Any other questions on Omar? Done approved it. Thank you for the report.
Thank you. Thank you for that update. Yeah.
Okay, building code.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Are you?
Building Codes Department report for May was 165 building permits issued, $225 taken in for plans review, $32,019 for permit fees, $3,800 for plumbing fees, $970 for gas fees, for a total of $36,714. Back of the report shows that our total single families from January to May would be 165. Last year's total in that same period was 141, so we're up 24 houses. And our totals for that period was 179 total building permits last year, and 779 for last year, 791 for this year. For our total permits are up 12. So we are still a little bit above what we were last year at this time. On the next report is property standards inspections. Our total inspections performed for May was 243. Inspections for BZA cases and conditional uses, signs was 110. In May, we had 43 new cases and 84 cases was closed. On the next report is the development tax collections. The Building Codes Department collected $48,750. The Planning Department took in $19,500 for $68,250. Our cumulative total for fiscal year is $1,305,000. And that's my reports, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody got any question on it? No questions, take a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think on our agenda tonight, we were going to discuss permit fees for flood victims.
Yeah.
I was contacted by Commissioner Rick Hall, and we had discussed it with the Mr. Burgess, County Mayor, and he thought we would ask the Public Works Committee to consider those fees to be waived for the flood victims, because most of the flood victims did not carry flood insurance. Anything that FEMA's going to help mainly was flood insurance carriers that already had insurance, and some of these flood victims got a little help from FEMA, but it's nothing like they would if they was in a 100-year flood zone. Our assessments, as Dale had mentioned earlier, was over 300 single-family dwellings in Rutherford County that was in somewhat affected. About 100 of those are major damage, being possibly getting up into the house. One thing the Building Codes Department always has considered needs for a building permit is structural. If there's no structural damage and we're just replacing sheetrock, carpet, insulation under the floors, ductwork, air conditioning unit that's pre-existing, things like that, we have not required building permits anyway. So the permits that would be required by the flood victims, I had narrowed it down with the building inspectors in the last few weeks that went back to some of these sites and prepared their reports for structural damage. It looks like we're talking about only 10 or 12 structures that were in need of some repair for the skeleton work or framework of the building. So we're probably just looking at 10 or 12 single-family dwelling permits for reconstructing for structural.
And by waiving the fees, we're not waiving the requirement of having a permit. You still have to permit, you just don't pay.
That's correct. We still would perform our normal building inspections, help the homeowners through the process of the minimum standards that they replace the material with the minimums required by our current codes.
We got a resolution here in front of you. This whereas Rutherford County experienced flooding of historical magnitude May the 1st and 2nd, 2010, causing damage to 688 properties, including 14 totally destroyed. 161 were total damage, were major damage, and 175 were minor. Whereas Rutherford County, in the effort to support and assist in the effort to rebuild and Said properties were proposed to waive building permit fees for affected flood victims. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford Board of Commissioners that the building permit fees normally collected by Rutherford County Building Code Department be waived for any Rutherford County resident affected by the May 1st and May the 2nd, 2010 flood no permits requests September 30, 2010. So we need to pass this resolution, and David's went over pretty well what he's seen, and don't look like it's going to be as many permits as you may think, according to him, by letting them do the work that he's talking about they could do anyway. Mr. Williams.
I just see Commissioner Hall is here, and since he was, well, I didn't know if it's okay with the committee, just if there's anything that he wanted to say that, since he made the call to David. I don't know that there is, but when another commissioner comes, I like to give him an opportunity to say something they want to.
Hey, I just echo what he said. I received a couple of phone calls and emails about it, and I've been out to some of the houses that we had several down in Smyrna, out on National Highway, and I no way knew, looking at damage, if they're going to need building permits or not. But I just thought it was running the business, making money off their grave situation. I thought if we could get those fees waived, I know Smyrna has set up the same thing, waiving the fees for anybody that needs it down there, and I just wanted to make sure we step the same gratitude out for these folks and get it fixed.
I'll make a motion to approve this. Second.
I just got a couple of questions. I have no problem with it. But when we have the tornadoes that come through, we had structural damage. Are their fees exempt? Can you give me an update on that?
Well, on your building code report, you will notice that we did have our tornado damage building permit numbers, and we did issue 82 building permits to repair or reconstruct buildings that was damaged by the tornado. We only had one victim in the tornado that I'm aware of that insurance did not take care of the house. So the difference between what we were faced with that disaster compared to this disaster on our flood is that people were not covered in any way to replace their damage by the floodwaters. They had no way of knowing and no chance to prepare for this type of flood that we had this time, being that, as Dale mentioned, most of it was not even in the floodplain that were flooded, so they didn't have flood insurance, and there was no way to expect that to happen. So we are looking at families that do not have coverage.
I guess what I was looking for tonight was something in the neighborhood of something permanent. Maybe, disastrous situations by the act of God or something like that, for tornadoes, floods, or whatever. Instead of just every time we have something, we come up here and pass one for that specific, deal.
Right.
Well, since that's your department, maybe you could look at something that would be permanent for the types of acts that come through, whether it be flood, tornadoes, or you never know what may be next. But if we had something in place, then we wouldn't have to come up here and piecemeal it together after it happened. I guess that's what I was looking for tonight.
I think he'd have to be careful what he puts together, because just like he said, all of the others was covered by insurance. These right here wasn't covered. So I think you got to take it into consideration.
Well, if it's a disaster, to me it's a disaster. Whether it comes up that the insurance, he said, under the tornado covered everyone with the exception of one. Next time it may be the opposite. I don't know. But I do know if we got it in place, then we don't have to come up here and try to piecemeal this together when that incident occurred. The only thing I hate about trying to piecemeal it together after it occurred, maybe after some people had already bought building permits, I don't know. But if we already have it intact, I'm positive that I will not miss anybody. Now you say right tonight we got 10 to 12. How do we know next week it don't show up to be?
It could be more on our list.
That's what I'm talking about.
We've got a list of over 300 properties, and of course, any permits that's already been established that did pay fees are on that list, and any future houses, just as we still was keeping up with the tornado damage months later, we were able to go back to our list of assessed damages, you know, and make sure that that was a affected house. But I think that was the main concentration on this compared to the tornado was most people's insurance did cover and paid for the permit fees, paid for the damage, paid for everything, where this don't have it.
So there is another aspect to this then, that you would be discouraging people from taking insurance if you made a blanket rule based on exception.
That's a possibility, yeah.
So for somebody to forego the fee is how much?
Well, the fee is concentrated on the value of the work.
Roughly. A few $100.
Yeah, it could be anywhere from $100 to $300, somewhere in that range as far as repairing what damages.
But not to have insurance to take care of your house for $100, $300. You'd have to be at Silas Marner to go that route. But
yeah, but there are Silas Marners out there, and that's the problem.
There's a bunch of them in my district, so. But I understand what Commissioner McAdoo is saying on that, but as I understand it, it's very difficult to get flood insurance if you aren't in the floodplain.
That's very true.
It's not impossible, but it's not something that you can just call up your agent and say, add that as a binder on my policy. That doesn't work.
That's the way I understand it.
So
some agencies
even if people had felt like that they were maybe in a low-lying area, if it wasn't in the floodplain, they were prohibited, even if they had wanted to, from taking it out. So I see where this is more of the exception to that because of that fact, as opposed to just being the frugalness that to try to save that. So I think it's a good idea. Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
You know, this could be viewed, and most likely will be viewed by some that had their house blown away as picking and choosing. You're picking these people that flooded over us. But like you said, like you explained, it is a different situation because I don't know of any insurance or any homes that were not allowed to, at least they were offered insurance that paid for a tornado, where what we're speaking of is people that were uninsured, not by anything that they did. It's just there's no flood insurance offered. So it is a different situation.
David, let me ask you, what about, if the electric company, aren't they charging them for meters that they have to set again? I had a guy in Wilson County tell me that they were charging him to set.
To my knowledge, the state has not waived any fees.
I'm drafting a letter to go to them, so I hope to take this resolution to them as well.
That's State Commerce and Insurance still handles the electrical inspections.
Do they? Okay.
You do, but you need to vote.
Okay, we hadn't ever voted on this motion. All in favor?
Aye.
You got anything else, Dave?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, the next item we got is a resolution to approve the litter grant again for another year for the county. You got a copy of it in front of you, so we need a motion to,
This is for county roads. The one we previously
Yeah.
did was state roads.
okay. This one's for county road. Resolution.
Is that grant application?
Yeah, it's authorizing acceptance of the grant.
It's an annual
Annual
routine
renewal.
procedure.
Motion to approve the grant.
Second.
Any questions on it? All in favor?
Aye.
2010 relax and ride service contract. This is the same thing, annual review, approval. You got a copy of it there in front of you? No?
I don't think they do. But it's the annual agreement.
Routine annual.
Again, this is an annual renewal of this contract we have with them. I can let you review this, but our cost, our participation in this is $11,557, I believe, and it's prorated among all the municipalities and et cetera. We all pay the same, except TDOT pays 8 times that much, and Davidson County pays more. But this is prorated across all of our entities that are using this kind of service, starting at MTSU, going all the way to Nashville.
Has that gone up since last year?
I think it went up a little. It's prorated, I think, somehow on population. And
They've added more service, haven't they?
they've added more equipment, yeah, to accommodate more riders, and they have a tremendous number of riders that are riding it.
Well worth it.
Yeah, it's a good service.
Motion to approve the contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Does this, Mayor, does this go to budget? I think it does. doesn't
Yeah, it would have to. It's already in the budget, but I think we'll probably just take it on the budget.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go to the highway. First item here is from the highway department is where the road board approved G Road 30 mile an hour and Jakes Avenue 15. This has been through the sheriff's department. For some of you don't know what Jakes Avenue is, you go out there off of Old Woodbury Road, right there by Mitchell's Grocery, and it's a little narrow road, you can't even pass on it. A lot of old folks live on it. There's been 2 old folks hit there in the last month, walking just to the mailbox and all the way, people speeding down through that and everything. So it is extra narrow. No, you can't even pass on it. So that's the reason.
How long is the road? Do you know?
It's probably about maybe 2/10.
And you said it's a dead end?
Yeah.
How many residents live on?
Oh yeah. I guess it's. If I was guessing, I'd say probably 60.
60.
Maybe more. It's solid down through. It's an old neighborhood.
What's the posted speed now?
Posted speed now, I think, was 25 mile an hour, I believe. But anyway, the road board approved it, so they moved it forward to the sheriff, and the sheriff agreed with it, so send it on to you to be approved.
If we got a motion,
Need one.
move to approve.
Need a second.
Second.
What about G Is it G Road?
G Road is another short road that, off of Bradwell Road, goes between, Bradwell, Road and, well, it ain't like the other road, but it's narrow just like it. And people's found that the shortcut through from one road to the other, and it's just like a racetrack through there. Need a motion to approve it?
We've got, oh, you're not gonna take them together?
Yeah, we'll just take them together.
Okay, well, I have a motion then.
All right. I want to make sure though that you understood both of them. Okay, we'll vote on both of them.
Normally, when you change the speed limit, that doesn't slow many down anyway.
Well, I disagree with you, Sean, man.
The sheriff ever wrote a ticket for speeding?
Yeah, they wrote a bunch of tickets.
Probably be the neighbors.
You get out in some of these county roads now, and you'll find out on the way they're patrolling a lot of them now. But all in favor?
Aye. No.
Well, Mr. Johnson, no. Okay, the next item there is,
I know.
we've got 2 drainage easements. It's been approved, that we need to get approved, on Kingwood Trace. You've got a copy of it there. Need a motion to approve these.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You've got another item here in front of you. And you got a map here, and if you look on the map, you'll see the 2 red marks there. And anyway, due to increased traffic because of industrial and housing growth in the area, Epps Mill Road needs to be the next county road to be widened. Rutherford County would need to do this project in 3 phases. The county should go ahead and start with phase 1, which would permit preliminary design and phase. And it's really like right there where they're talking about putting that new truck stop there. We need to make them add that turn lane right there. I'm gonna mark them when it comes to it. I mean, but if you'll see right in there, one reason I got that in color, if you'll see right in that real sharp curve, it comes in there and makes that. Look at the home that's been built right in there in the last 3 or 4 years. All them dots in there, you see row after homes trying to get out on this road right here, much less all the other traffic and things in here.
It was already bad enough without the homes.
But all we would need at this time, just to move this forward, asking to, is a motion to request the mayor to present with a preliminary and design phase, which we ain't talking about. Probably $10,000 or less is all you're talking about.
We'll make that motion.
Yeah. Second.
Okay. All in, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I just want to make a little discussion on it. When we done Halls Hill Pike, the preliminary studies are very important. I think it took us 2 years.
That's what I say.
It's preliminary design on Halls Hill Pike. So if we see any other roads like that in the county, we probably need to start bringing them up here to do the preliminary and the design work. Now, the mayor told me something when they were passing out this stimulus monies. I never will forget it. One county had their road already preliminary done, designed, and got the property rights. So therefore, they were entitled to the stimulus money. So if we start and have all these packages together, we never know what we might pick up in the future. So I think it's a very good start. start right here.
Well, Joe, how do y'all, not trying to play devil's advocate here, but how do you prioritize some of this when you take Jefferson Pike at Mona? That's had fatalities, it's a terrible road, I mean, we're waiting on the state.
The difference in this road and Jefferson Pike is a state road.
But, I mean, it's been talked about for years, and it's
I know
not doing
it.
anything.
Well, I disagree with you there, because I just got with Jim Tracy about 2
Well, I've got
weeks
Jim
ago.
Tracy too, and
Yeah,
I ain't
but
seen
what I-
nothing but
well,
talk on that.
You know a state representative?
Well, just a minute.
It's just dragging, it's dragging their feet.
Well, Gradable Pike is the same one, just like
The
It is in the
design,
process,
the
and it
design
will-
is done through the everything on from Smyrna to the 840 out there. It's been approved. You know, they've done got it designed and all that,
Yeah.
and he's hoping they're gonna come up with the money on that to go ahead and get that first phase done.
Yeah, but hoping it happening is two
Well,
different
I
things.
know it, but you gotta start somewhere. If you hadn't even done started and had that part done.
Well, I had a guy, and I shared this with y'all before, I forgot who it was, with T-Dot, at a Smyrna planning meeting, and he had shared with me, he said, if the county will do some of it, and we were talking specifically about Mona and Jefferson Pike. He said that the state it'll up the ante to get them more motivated to help.
But the
improve
only
that
thing you're
themselves.
looking at there, Mike, the county can't afford them to get their own roads, much less if they go to start and get in on a state
Well,
road.
that's what I'm saying as far as prioritizing, because, we see fatalities that's been there. I mean, I know specifically
Fatalities on that
2
road.
fatalities since I've been a commissioner up here. But how do you prioritize, that's what I'm saying.
Well, the county has already got a list about the top 5 or 6 that they need. And this is one of them right here that we just approved. Just like the Halls Hill Pike section was. And you got X amount of dollars to spend to try to get these. And I really think the state will continue on that. I think it's gonna happen on Jefferson Pike from what I've been keeping up with.
I ain't seen no movement.
Well,
We've had
I
meetings,
think
resolutions.
you
But
will
they have
see
actually
something.
engineered it. It is on the approved list. Now, it just takes a bit of
They ain't
time.
done
to
no
work.
right-of-way acquisitions or
I
sent out
understand.
letters or anything.
Neither have they done it on Highway 96, but they've got an approved engineering plan. It's ahead of any other project of that magnitude in the county, as far as TDOT is concerned.
But it has to have this design work and all of this done
Yep.
before you even get on the stair steps to get toward the money
That's right.
process.
That's right.
See,
Where does the bridge over Broad Street?
Don't even bring up
That is
that.
The city of Murfreesboro is
City
handling it.
of
We just stay out of it.
Yeah, nah, I guess
Let
don't-
them move that forward.
Don't bring that one up.
Okay, we'll vote on it. Okay, all in favor of this?
Aye.
Okay, the next item we had here was discuss next meeting. Really, unless something comes up from one of these departments between now and then, we won't have another meeting. It'd have to be something that needs to, just like it's been every year since I've been on Public Works. Most of these departments has theirs already. But if something was to come up, then I would get in touch with all of you and we would have a meeting. But if we don't, we'll just have this one meeting in June.
Okay, now that would, if the meeting were held, it would be the 6th.
No, sir.
Is that when it would fall?
No. I believe, I ain't got what she give me, but she give me a date. I think it'd be, I believe she said, the 18th or somewhere right in there.
That's the only date I'm aware of that's still available, and that's Friday.
If we had any, I believe it, she told me it'd be on that 18th, but unless we have something come back from every one of these departments, there'd be no need to have one.
No.
Okay, but we
He's
would,
talking about having it
we would
before
not do a July meeting then?
No committees meet, nothing meets in July.
Well, that's my understanding, but I wanted to pin it down because my wife has a very serious eye condition that takes very expensive medication, and we got to go into Nashville to get it done by a retinologist, and we've set the appointment for that day, the 6th of July. I just wanted to be sure we were.
Yeah. They may back up there. Some of the committees may meet in July.
Right, because they're actually meeting for the following month.
But I do know just like the road board and all, they having another meeting in June, so they won't need one for their July meeting.
So our next meeting will be in August.
Unless something comes up.
Unless something comes up.
If it does, then we'll have one either the 18th, or we could have it in July.
There may need to be doing some preliminary design on G Road and Jake.
Right.
Well,
Maybe we need to get that in work.
Well, to start with on Jake's, you couldn't widen Jake's if you wanted to. If you go down through there, like I told you, the old neighborhood, and every one of them, the houses ain't much further from this wall.
The older road.
Road. Yeah.
Well, what are they going? What's the state or whoever's going to do 96?
Yeah.
Between here and Franklin, going to do about all those houses that sit right up. They going to condemn all those
Well,
that sit right
if
on the
that's where they put
roads
them.
out past you. You know.
Some of them, but they've minimized that by moving it over on the other side where there's fewer homes typically. They have engineered that.
Well, good.
I got something when you get to other business.
All right, we're there now. Any
We're
other
there.
business?
I just wanted to maybe get an update from the mayor on the litter ordinance.
That's exactly what I wanted to present as my other item.
Oh, okay.
Other business. Here, there's 3 copies there, and just you can pass them. Last night, I gave over to the steering committee a copy of this, and they basically took that under advisement because it is a lengthy, complex little document here. So I'm giving this out to you just to keep you completely informed and up to speed with respect to what's happening. So the steering committee has this document, and they're going to hear it they're going to discuss it in some detail at their next meeting. And that next meeting has been rescheduled, and maybe Ms. Shelton can tell us the date on it. But at that time, you might want to review this, get your questions together, and even come and participate and be at the steering committee meeting, because we've asked them to get their questions outlined, and we're going to discuss this in some detail then.
24th at 5.
24th of June at 5 p.m.
June the 24th.
At 5 p.m.
See, we're having a schedule around other meetings, and so that's the time they've scheduled.
5 p.m.
Out to Board of Education. No, it's right.
I'm just making sure.
5 o'clock.
But that's in this room, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That is here.
Yes, sir.
Pretty lengthy document right there. Ain't it?
Well, you got 2 or 3 pages of definitions, but then you do get into 2 or 3 pages of real meat there that needs to be reviewed, so.
Well, thank you, I said.
Okay.
Any other business?
Real quick, Mayor, we talked about the development fee, impact fee, which would be the city's own senior developments. Can you explain the process real quick if we wanted to look at lowering the development fee if it's pertaining to senior developments? I know it may take a long process.
It's a simple answer. Our development tax is put in place by state statute through a private act. We cannot exempt anybody without changing the private act.
So we'd have to start steering.
You'd have to start with steering and decide and define exactly which pieces or which types of entities would get a different treatment.
Okay. You think it's a good idea that we could eventually look forward, whether it's this commission or the next commission?
I'm not sure exactly what types of entities this should apply for. I mean, are these nonprofits or for-profits? Is it anybody that wants to put in senior housing, or is there any limitations there?
Well, the whole premise of it for me is that, we're seeing construction, we're seeing growth at a slow rate. Seniors, they're not impacting us, they're not impacting our school system, they're not impacting our police and fire adversely. So if we lowered it from 1,500 to 750, it could spur some development out there. And I think we're one of the best counties in the country to be able to do it. I think we could kind of be a trendsetter in a sense, because we're seeing growth we had a planning meeting in Smyrna. We didn't have a planning meeting the first time in 20-something years because growth has been so slow. But if you're looking at senior developments, it's not going to impact our school system. And that's what your development fee and your impact fee is there for, to help recover some of these costs that you're at. I'm just saying it's something that we should look at, whether we get the Home Builder Association on board or Board of Realtors on board, or at least study it is all I'm saying. And I think it could help. I mean, at least, we looked at some of this with David earlier, that our building permit fees haven't been hit too hard since last year, but it's still been hit hard over the past few years. I just think it's something that could help our economy and also help us, rather than the development go to Wilson County or Davidson County or Williamson, and may come right here in Rutherford County.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with you. I think you'd have to look at what entity or who is building the senior development and the criteria for senior development. Because, I mean, you can have a senior development and you have a landlord making millions. It hasn't helped the seniors at all. They're still paying top dollar. Or are you talking about the cities or the county, whoever, an entity that has, it's definitely nonprofit and is a lower rental fee?
What the developer makes is irrelevant. What's
my
relevant,
point was the developer still making the top dollar, as I said, the developer making the top dollar and the seniors still paying top dollar. That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said.
If you lower your cost, you're going to lower the cost of that unit. I'm just going to say it's going to spur, it will spur construction. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. And I mean, I think we're just primed for we're seeing people in my district that are living in split level houses that have been there for years, that retired from the air base. And a lot of people want to move into these areas, but a lot of times they can't afford it. We've got one that's coming to Smyrna, and the price point's kind of expensive. And the waiting list at Smyrna alone was 300 at the Smyrna Housing Authority. They are building some units, but there's still a need out there. I'm just saying if we lower it, I think we'd spur some growth, is all I'm saying. To me, it's just a no-brainer to me.
Well, we just have to be real careful that we don't put in place a system that gives some favored treatment to one group and not favored treatment to the same group. We have to really be concerned about how equitable we can be with this.
Wait a second. We're favoring our seniors. We're lowering the cost because they impact us less.
Well, I got a question.
Anyway,
Mr. Mercadal.
So you're saying that's the rational basis for doing?
I'm saying if you're looking at the impact, an impact fee, a true impact fee, it's based there because of impact, right? Impact to schools, police, fire.
Development tax is an impact fee. But
Yes.
you also, if you look at basically your cities and your towns, they're the ones that have the real impact fees that are really, really substantial.
You just answered that Smyrna.
They
But
can
it's
address
not from a senior standpoint. Seniors is different.
We have a development fee. We don't have the impact fee. There's two different definitions. You gave a definition of the impact fee. That's not what we have.
You call it what you want.
No,
let's call it development fee,
Well,
$1,500.
Need to do your
You
homework,
lower that
Commissioner.
fee. I'll do my homework. We'll do it right
You
here.
haven't.
We'll talk about it right here. I'm just saying, we're seeing people without jobs. We're seeing people that are unemployed. The true unemployment rate may be 17, 18%. Okay. I happen to care about those people when I see them out of work, okay? And if we can lower that down, I'm just saying it can spur some growth. It's a no-brainer. And if we really care about these issues, we'll do something about it. And I know, Mayor, you do care. I'm just saying, let's just investigate it. And if we're looking at impact, it's impact.
I just like to ask one little simple question, and I don't have my scale in front of me, or I could, but you are the math expert, $1,500 or $1,000 amortized over 30 years makes is less than $10, $6 or $7 a month is all you're talking about if you're going to take a capital investment and lower it by $1,500. You're talking about $6 a month. And if somebody is so close that $6 a month makes them where they don't need to move into it, then I think you've answered the no-brainer question right there.
All right, well, let's take that. Let's just waive it all together. $1,500, $1,500. If it ain't much, we don't need it.
No, I didn't say $1,500. I said the $6 for somebody whether they can
I'm
afford
just
it or
saying,
not is.
we're seeing more fees and more fees, and a lot of people can't afford these things. And I'm saying if we lowered it, it would spur some growth. Why don't we get a representative from the Home Builder Association and the Board of Realtors?
Let me say this.
And let's get their input.
We've spent several days talking about not this in precisely, but with the home builders, with the developers, with the utilities, with the county, with the city, with Smyrna. We've been through a whole litany of serious discussions trying to find a way to put in place an incentive program where we could spur on construction.
Yes, sir.
This is so complex and so difficult and so filled with legal difficulties that we have been unable to find any rational way to address that. I'm serious that we have really worked hard at reducing building permit fees, reducing utility tap fees. It goes into bond issues. It goes into what you've determined that you're going to use your revenue for and how all this stuff is structured on how you support your debt. I'm not trying to give you a complicated answer, but this is extraordinarily, almost impossible to do from a legal entanglement. And then when you put the fairness with it, it even makes it more difficult.
Well, what you said here and said, you done answered what he's done asking. Y'all already
we've spent lots of time and hours starting
of looking
all
into
of these
it.
entities on several group meetings and independent meetings.
Have you discussed a different thing, the possibility of a real estate transfer tax?
Well, that's been discussed
separately
several times, and that would be, in many of our opinions, a more fair and equitable approach, but we cannot get our legislative body in Nashville to agree with us.
It's been sent through steering 2 or 3 times.
And we've been through that more than once, trying.
Well, but we'll keep trying. I mean, it's
right.
If we keep thinking, we'll keep looking, we'll find something that works.
Yes, sir. Doug said that there's some areas in Florida that's done that. Some municipalities down there that have.
They've done it on what we would, the true definition of impact fees. They have said seniors not affecting, they've got all these impact fees broken out by what, the schools, the roads, the utilities, and they've removed the pieces that, for seniors maybe, for example, that the little piece that the impact fee was used to support the building of schools, they've taken that out.
And that's all I'm saying.
But we don't have ours that finely defined. We don't have a true impact fee. Now, if we take that $1,500 and break it out like that, that's what you'd have to do.
So to the best of my recollection, when we went through this years ago, some of you were here and some of you were not, we went in depth and we had meetings with the Home Builders Association. It's my understanding they didn't want the impact fee. We did what they wanted. If we were going to do anything, we said we'd rather we hadn't done anything, but if we were going to do anything, we were going to do the development tax, and that's what we did. And we didn't go as high as we could, and I didn't want it to go any higher, personally, but I saw the need, as well as the other commissioners, or majority, and we passed what we felt we needed. But as far as no-brainers, everyone's got a different brain. Some people think deeper than others. Some go more into depth on their thought. You've got different realms. You've got just what's right here, and then you've got other homework you can do and find out the other facts. And that's what I've always done as a commissioner, and that's what I'm always going to do. I'm not going to jump out there just because one little group, and it's usually the ones with money, give me this and say, this is what I want. Cut this because it's going to help me, and then in turn, it's going to help the little people over here. Well, it doesn't always help the little people. And you can get out here and say, I'm for the little people, but if you don't look at the whole realm, then you're not going to help the little people. You're going to help the big people. And that's not what I'm about, and I hope the rest of you are not. I'm here to help this county. That means the big and the little. The ones with money, the ones without money. And I'm sick and tired of people getting on this soapbox of, I'm here for the little people. We're all here, or should be here, for everybody. And that's what it's about.
I move with adjourn.
Amen.
Can we take